Just when you thought the special teams issues for the LA Kings couldn't get any more frustrating, they do. We'll be discussing and dissecting how the Kings let one slip away in Seattle due to special teams issues on this edition of Locked On LA Kings.
You are Locked On Kings, your daily podcast on the Los Angeles Kings, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, Kings fans, welcome to Locked On LA Kings, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, the number one sports podcast network, your team every day. Thanks for making Locked On LA Kings your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. If you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL live bets all season long. I'm Eddie Garcia, your host of Locked On LA Kings. I've worked in sports media for the past 30 years. Also one of the co-hosts of Locked On NHL Game Night, a nightly podcast and YouTube show that recaps the night in the NHL, and a passionate LA Kings fan for over 30 years. The LA Kings played game number 30 of the regular season in Seattle against the Kraken, the first of four meetings between the two Pacific Division opponents. LA coming off a pair of wins, 6-0 over Chicago and 4-2 over Utah. The Kings were 26 seconds away from a hard-fought win, but end up losing in overtime 3-2. As for the game stats in this one, the Kings were outshot 33-26. Power play, the Kings were 1 for 5, while Seattle was 3 for 7. Faceoffs favored LA 52.2% to Seattle's 47.8%. Hits were dead even at 18 apiece. Block shots favored the Kings 18-14, but it was Seattle with the 3-2 overtime victory. The 20th one-goal game for the Kings this season, most in the NHL, and their 13th game beyond regulation, most in the NHL. Big takeaway from this one, this game was literally all about special teams. 5 total goals scored in this game, all of them on special teams. The Kings get a shorthanded goal and a power play goal, and not just a power play goal, a third period go-ahead power play goal. And they still don't get 2 points because they allowed a team that came in ranked 22nd in the NHL on the power play, a team that had lost 6 games in a row, to score 3 power play goals, one in the final seconds to tie it, the other in overtime to win it. First off, there were a ton of penalties called in this game. I don't know if it was just an undisciplined game by both teams or the officiating crew was calling it tight, or maybe a bit of both. I will say I was surprised, though, when I saw after the game that there were 12 total penalties in this one. I didn't really feel like watching the game that it was just kind of a whistle fest. I don't know. I knew that there were penalties, and I knew that, the Seattle had several power plays, but I was surprised when I saw how many penalties were actually called in this one. As for the 2 big calls late in the game, Kings number 2 goalie Anton Forsberg getting the start in this one. I actually thought he played pretty good. More on that later, but he took a tripping penalty with 39 seconds left. Now, Seattle had already pulled their goalie for the extra attacker, trying to tie things up late. So this gave them a 6-on-4 power play, and they would take advantage, scoring to tie it up with 24.8 seconds left. Then in overtime, Adrian Kempe took a slashing penalty. Seattle gets a 4-on-3 power play, and that was the game-winning goal they scored on. So very frustrating to see the Kings work that hard, put themselves in a position to get another road win where they've been so good this year, and extend their winning streak to 3 in a row, but they let it slip away just like that. We have talked pretty much all season long about the special teams issues. Remember, the Kings were taking way too many penalties at the start of the year. They did correct that. The Kings' penalty killing unit wasn't so good early on. I thought the Kings had corrected that. And to be fair, as far as the 3 power play goals scored against them in this one to Seattle, only one of them was the traditional 5-on-4 variety. And I was all ready to talk about how great it was to see the Kings get a game-winning goal in the third period on the power play, and how that might just be the thing to get that struggling power play turned around and headed in the right direction. But so much for that. We have talked so many times in this show that if the Kings could just be even in the special teams department, how much better they would be. And too often they are losing the special teams battle, as they did in this one, and it cost them a win and 2 points. Now, so far, it hasn't really hurt the Kings in terms of their position in the standings. All of those overtime games I talked about, all those 1-goal games, a lot of times they are getting the points for having a game go to overtime or a shootout. Unfortunately, I haven't been able to get the extra point as often as they would like. But again, if they could have more consistency, just better power play, then the Kings would be even in a stronger position than they are in. And of course, ultimately, what we're talking about at the end of the year, the Kings having playoff success, which they haven't had in a long time. Do we feel like this, with the way the special teams have been this season, is that translating into any kind of playoff success? Of course not. Now, the good news is the Kings still have 52 games to figure this out. But so far over the first 30 games, the special teams, especially the power play, just has not been good enough. We keep saying it, and it keeps being the case. Now, even though the Kings had won 2 in a row coming into this one, LA head coach Jim Miller did actually make a lineup change that did impact the power play in this game. Typically, when it's going well, he keeps it the same, and that's understandable. I'm not talking about the goaltender, by the way. Talking about Andrei Kuzmenko was benched in this game in favor of Jeff Malott on the fourth line. Now, I had mentioned in our last show how Kuzmenko is unlikely to be effective 5-on-5, playing limited minutes on the fourth line, and that he was basically at this point a power play specialist. Now, with the Kings only getting 1 power play chance in their last game, Kuzmenko was a non-factor. Matter of fact, he was probably a negative in that game. So Jim Miller decides in this one, I'll put Jeff Malott in, at least in his own way. He can create some things, be more effective in limited minutes because he can play a physical style, which Kuzmenko can't do. I do wonder if Jim Miller had known beforehand that the Kings would get 5 power play opportunities, would he have kept Kuzmenko in the lineup? We'll never know. But since Kuzi was out, the Kings obviously needed to change the power play unit a little bit. Joel Armia was actually promoted to the top unit. And I will say I am done doubting Joel Armia because he has played everywhere in the lineup, and he's been pretty darn good everywhere he's been. And he was not bad on the number 1 power play unit in this one. I thought that he did a decent job in executing what the Kings' plan was, and that was basically having him down in the corner and either looking for him to get a shot or feed that bumper position. And the Kings did actually get the power play set up pretty well, opposed to how it's been recently. But again, the results are the results. Armia didn't score a power play goal. The Kings did get 1 power play goal. And again, I'm not discounting that at all. At the time, it was a huge goal, and it felt like it was going to be a game-winning goal. But that goal wasn't really set up traditionally it wasn't like they got the puck in the zone, they passed it around, and then they set up a play and they scored. I'll explain what it was later. It was a power play goal, but it wasn't a traditional kind of power play goal, if you will. So you might wonder, we've changed the lineup around. We've had a 5 forward unit. Now we've gone back to a more traditional power play unit where you've got a defenseman running the play, running the units. Why not make a coaching change? The man in charge of the power play is Newell Brown, and why not replace him and bring somebody else in? Maybe that can spark this thing. Because it couldn't be worse, right? I mean, the Kings are dead last in the NHL. They are 32nd out of 32 NHL teams ranked on the power play. And it seems like a pretty basic question. The problem is, well, there's two problems. Number one, NHL teams never do this. They never do this. I don't know why, but it isn't something that is done in the NHL. I cannot remember the last time a team made an assistant coaching change during a season for anything hockey related. Now, maybe there was a scandal or, a coach gets in trouble off the ice and they make a change. That's happened. But for hockey related reasons, I don't know that I've ever heard of it or seen it. It's very, very rare. I'll definitely put it that way. And if the Kings were to make a coaching change, I will say it will be more difficult this year in particular to have a new coach come in and implement any kind of a new system, because with the Olympic schedule, the condensed schedule because of the Olympics, there is not a lot of practice time for teams to try and implement things. So that's just another kind of layer to kind of consider in this one. But as far as what head coach Jim Hiller had to say about the Kings power play in the game against Seattle, he said afterwards, quote, "We were around the net, we got in the zone, and we had a lot of pucks bouncing around in front of their net. We were not perimeter. You're hoping that one of those just ends up on a stick. We're around it, but we didn't get that bounce. The guys executed really well on the entry, and so we'll take one, but we had a chance for more." End quote. There were a few bright spots for the Kings, and yes, one of them was Alex Laferriere. We're going to get into that next here on Locked On LA Kings, your team every day. NFL Sundays move fast to one big play, and suddenly everything feels different. That's what makes live betting with FanDuel so exciting. You're not just watching the game, you're reacting to it in real time. With FanDuel, you can place bets as the action unfolds, whether you're a Rams fan or a Chargers fan, maybe even a Raiders fan. Every drive, every momentum swing, every highlighted moment, live betting is best when games start to shift. A quarterback gets hot, a defense tightens up, or momentum flips on a turnover. FanDuel lets you jump into the moment. Live spreads and money lines adjust instantly. Player props update as a player heats up. You can bet on who will score the next touchdown, what will happen on the next drive, totals, and more. It keeps you locked into every snap, every drive, and every possibility. So if you want to be right in the middle of the action as the season heats up, visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL live bets all season long. FanDuel, the game moves fast, and so can you. Hey, thank you for making Locked On LA Kings your first listen of the day, and thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. You already live your team every day. Now take it up to the next level and go ad-free. Join the Everydayer Club today and get Locked On LA Kings with no interruptions, members-only Discord access, and more. All for just $5 a month or $50 a year. Check the link in the show notes to learn more. Let's check in on some of the individual performances for the LA Kings and their overtime loss to the Seattle Kraken. We mentioned the lineup. We'll show it to you briefly. But again, there was the change on the fourth line. Jeff Malott was in, and Andrei Kuzmenko was out. Everything else was the same except for the goaltender, Anton Forsberg, getting the start in this one, and Darcy Kemper would serve as the backup. And I will say I did agree with Jim Hiller on this one. I thought this was a good time to get Anton Forsberg in the net. He's been good on the road in his career. He's been good against Seattle, and he was, taking on a team that was riding a 6-game losing streak. So we will see Forsberg again next week when the Kings play back-to-back games in the state of Florida. My guess is that he would play against the Panthers next Wednesday, but we'll see. As for this start, I was all ready to praise Anton Forsberg for playing a solid game. It looked like he was going to allow just the one goal in the Kings' 2-1 or 3-1 win if they could have scored into an empty net. Obviously, that didn't happen. He ended up allowing 2 more power play goals to take the loss. Ends up allowing 3 goals on 33 shots. According to naturalstattrick.com, he saw 8 high danger shots and stopped 7 of them. He saw 8 mid-danger shots, allowing 2 goals, while stopping all 16 low-danger shots that he faced. Forsberg falls to 4-2-3 on the season. He's now 3-0-2 on the road. First goal he allowed on the power play was a one-timer from the high slot. The second goal he allowed on the power play was a deflection from the top of the crease. That was the one that tied it in the final seconds. And the third goal he allowed on the power play, a one-timer from the top of the left faceoff circle, and that was the overtime game winner. Now, I'm not natural stat trick, but to me, I thought all those were pretty difficult shots to stop. Again, they were all in the power play, and certainly a mark against Forsberg because he did cause the power play that the eventual game tying goal was scored against. But overall, I actually thought he still played a pretty solid game. Anze Kopitar, the captain, did get the primary assist on the Kings' power play goal for career point number 1,294. He is now 13 points away from passing Marcel Dion to become the LA Kings' all-time leading scorer. I thought the Kings' best player was Alex Laferriere in this one, as he continues to play at a very high level. He was flying around, hitting people. He had 5 hits in this game. Certainly doing the job 5-on-5 and on the penalty kill as well. He also played on the second power play unit. So Alex Laferriere playing in all situations, scored the LA Kings' 6th shorthanded goal of the season, which, to be fair, I should point out is a special teams category that the Kings are actually the best at in the entire NHL, scoring shorthanded goals. As far as the Laferriere goal that he scored, really nice little soft lob pass down the ice to him from Joel Armia. Laferriere showing off his underrated speed to get that clean breakaway, and he scores on a beautiful backhand shot. That's a second. I believe both of his shorthanded goals were scored on that backhand shot. He's got a lot of confidence in it, and obviously it is very effective. For Laferriere, his second shorthanded goal of the season, his 7th goal overall, and he now has 13 points on the year. Alex Laferriere has really, really been good for the Kings so far this season. Kevin Fiala scored the Kings' power play goal with 5 minutes and 20 seconds left in regulation. Fiala skating back into the Kings zone to retrieve a puck after the Kraken sent it down on the penalty kill. Skates out of the zone. He then is building up speed. He leaves it for Adrian Kempe. Juice then immediately passes the puck up to the Kings blue line for Anze Kopitar. Or actually, I should say the Kraken blue line. And then Kopitar hits Fiala with speed going into the zone in what looked like a set play. Fiala then skates in on net. He's got a step on the defender and makes a sweet backhand move to score to give the Kings that 2-1 lead with his 3rd power play goal of the season and his now team leading 11th goal of the year. Highly skilled play by Kevin Fiala. Great finish, and was thinking that might be the game winner on the power play. Unfortunately, that did not turn out to be the case, but still a very, very nice goal for Kevin Fiala. Joel Armia, with all due respect to what Corey Perry did over a span of about 10 games, Joel Armia has been the Kings' best offseason pickup. He has literally played in every position the Kings have needed him up and down the lineup. He's played on the top line, the second line, the third line, the fourth line. He's played on the penalty kill. He's played on the power play, and he has been good to great at just about everything. He now has 7 assists to go along with his 7 goals for 14 points. Yeah, that's right, 14 points. He had 22 points all of last year, so certainly on pace to eclipse last year's totals. Great setup on the goal by Laferriere. Just a beautiful little lob pass that was just the right speed, just the right pace that he could get it in stride easily and take it in on net. So Joel Armia continues to play well for the Kings, and I thought he looked pretty good on the Kings' top power play unit, which I wouldn't have thought that going into the season. I'll just put it that way. Quentin Byfield, no points in this one. He had 1 shot on goal, played 18 minutes and 39 seconds. Joel Armia actually played more minutes than Q in this one. 5th straight game that Byfield has not had a point. 12th straight game he has not scored a goal. He was out to start overtime, lost the opening faceoff, but he hustled to get the puck away. And then instead of pulling it back to his teammates and get the attack set up, he just lost the puck, turned it over. Seattle ended up getting possession. They would end up drawing the penalty on Adrian Kempe and then end up scoring the game-winning goal with the Kings never really having possession, never getting a shot on goal. I will not question Quentin Byfield's effort or his desire, but the bottom line is he has to be better. He has to be helping this team score goals. Philip Deneau, we talked about the trade rumors surrounding him, and because of that, he's going to be in the spotlight going forward. He had a terrific chance to get his first goal of the season in this one. On the Kings' first penalty kill, he and Alex Laferriere ended up getting a 2-on-1 shorthanded chance. Laferriere made a great pass over to Deneau, and he shot it just wide of the net. So instead of it being a chance for him to score a big goal, not only personally, but team-wise as well, it ended up just being another example of what has been a frustrating season for the veteran center. He finished with no points, 13 minutes and 40 seconds of ice time. Checking the other stats for the Kings in this one, goals for Alex Laferriere and Kevin Fiala, assists for Anze Kopitar, Joel Armia, and Adrian Kempe. Armia and Kempe led the team with 4 shots on goal each. Drew Doughty had 5 blocked shots to lead the team. As mentioned, Alex Laferriere led LA with 5 hits. Drew Doughty led the Kings in time on ice, 23 minutes and 33 seconds. Anze Kopitar was the Kings' best faceoff man. He won 20 of 31 faceoffs. I have to believe that is a season high for him in number of faceoffs taken in a game this season. All right, so where are the Kings in the Pacific Division standings as they do pick up a point? And also news to share on the LA Kings signing one of their recent draft picks. We'll do that next here on Locked On LA Kings, your team every day. Most people can't name all their financial accounts or even what they're worth, whether it's 401ks, properties, or investments. And when you don't have a full picture, you can end up leaving money on the table. That's why there is Monarch. It is an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or your phone. Monarch is built for people with busy lives, especially this time of the year during the holiday season when you're out doing all your Christmas shopping and getting ready for spending all your money. You need to organize your finances, and Monarch can do that for you. You can link all your accounts in minutes, see clear data visuals, get smart categorization of your spending, and finally feel in control of your money without ever touching a spreadsheet. You can maximize investments, increase your savings rate, easily review finances with your partner or your financial advisor while keeping a clear view of your financial health week to week and long term. Don't let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use the code LOCKEDONNHL at monarch.com for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarch.com with a code LOCKEDONNHL. Well, the Kings and Kraken were the only Pacific Division teams in action on Wednesday. Actually, that's not true. I think Calgary played as well. I should know that because I hosted Locked On NHL Game Night. But Calgary is at the bottom of the standings. We're talking about where are the Kings now after this overtime loss to Seattle. That gave LA 36 points on the season. They are still in third place in the Pacific Division. They are 3 points back of Anaheim for first place, 1 point back of Vegas for second place. Kings have a 4-point lead on Edmonton for that third spot in the division. Both teams have played 30 games this season. Up next for the Kings will be the Calgary Flames. That's a home game coming up on Saturday. A little bit of Kings news to pass along as the Kings signed forward Wojtek Szczęsny to a 3-year entry-level contract worth $975,000 per year. He was the Kings' second-round pick, 59th selection overall in this past year's NHL entry draft. He's 18 years old, currently playing for the top professional league in his native Czechia. In 27 games this season, the winger has 4 goals and 4 assists for 8 points. He's 6 foot tall, 180 pounds, and will be representing his country in the upcoming World Junior Championship. So we'll be keeping an eye on him in that event and let you know how he does. He is thought of as a good two-way forward prospect who could be a middle six forward at the NHL level. His signing does bring an interesting question to which I don't have an answer for. Why have the LA Kings signed their second-round pick from this year's draft, but not their first-round pick? Defenseman Henry Brustevich, taken 31st overall, is still unsigned by the Kings. Now, he is not the only first-round pick from this past year's draft that is unsigned, but it still seems a little unusual for the Kings to sign Szczęsny before they sign Brustevich. Now, maybe it has something to do with one of them being a European prospect and the other one being a North American prospect. I honestly don't know, but I just thought it was an interesting question to bring up. Now, the Kings do have plenty of time before they would lose the rights to Henry Brustevich. They have until June 1st of 2027 to sign their first-round draft pick from this year's draft, who's currently playing junior hockey up in Canada. But just was a question that I had when I saw this signing that unfortunately I don't have an answer to. I will keep my eye out and my ear open for maybe an explanation for that if I read one or see one somewhere. Regardless, Wojtek Shihas has joined Liam Greentree, Carter George, and Jared Woolley, all North American prospects playing junior hockey in Canada, as prospects that are now under contract with the LA Kings, who are not playing for the Ontario Reign. All right, for you everydayers, those of you that listen and watch Locked On Kings every day, don't forget we have our fan feedback show coming up in a couple of days here. The email address to get in on that is lockedoneddie@gmail.com, EDDIE. You can always post your thoughts if you're wanting to share them with your fellow Kings fans. If you're watching on YouTube in the comment section, and we'd love you to stay interactive with the show on social media, X, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. We're at Locked On LA Kings. Thanks for tuning in to Locked On LA Kings. Make sure you subscribe and follow so you get all the latest episodes. Did Locked On LA Kings make your Spotify Wrapped? Prove it on social media to secure a free month of our brand new Everydayers Club. Just tag our national Locked On Podcast Network account on any social platform, and we'll drop you a code. Be one of the first to join the Everydayers Club to get your favorite show ad-free and exclusive access to the members-only Discord channel. I'm Eddie Garcia. Thank you for listening and watching this episode of Locked On LA Kings, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Have a great rest of your day. We'll talk to you next time. And as always, go Kings, go.